My name is Leigh Henson, and this is my beautiful wife, Pat Hartman. And we've come to Lincoln, Illinois today to witness and participate in a glorious day for Lincoln and Logan County, because Honest Abe will be here today for a Republican political rally and speech. And he was in Alton yesterday, and we were too, weren't we? Because that was the last Lincoln-Douglas debate. So he's tired today, but he decided it was important to travel a long distance, mostly by train, to get here. And we expect thousands of people to be out today to greet him and cheer him on and show support for his candidacy in the Senate race against Stephen A. Douglas, the little giant. It should be a wonderful day for Republicans in Logan County. And I know one, at least one. Look, here's a reporter from the Chicago Press and Times. That paper was a Republican paper, so you must be a Republican reporter, and you probably are wondering what we're doing here. Well, this is a great day for Lincoln and Logan County, because Honest Abe is having a Republican rally and speech here today, the very next day after his final appearance in the Lincoln-Douglas debates in Alton yesterday. We were there to see him against the little giant. The little giant's voice faded out, and so most people were kind of disappointed in that. But Abe was in his true form. He was on fire, and I think he'll be even better today. We want to hear him skin the little giant right down to his foot bones. Don't we?
Yes, dear. We're happy to be here.
Great weather. We expect great excitement, much festivity, a lot of encouragement for getting the vote out. Honest Abe deserves to be in the Senate. Little Giant's been there long enough, and we obviously know that he will not solve the slavery problem. Only Abe can do that. So we're here to cheer Abe on, give him full support, try to round up some votes for him, to get him in the Senate where he can take care of the slavery problem. This country has to move on. It's been going in the wrong direction. That's all I have to say.
It's over there in front of Bill.
Right here?
In front of Bill.
Oh, okay, they're going to come this way?
I think so, because they wouldn't be able to see a thing then.
Okay. Well, if they come too forward, they're not going to be able to see because of the trees.
This is a great day to wear. Found. You know how funny how things are found in 1854 or 55 pictures here in town. Are you going back? Right Wait, you know what the rest of the ladies are like?
Yeah, courthouse.
I guess I don't know where Abe's coming from. I thought it was that street first. Maybe it'll be this one.
Okay, I'm Lynn and Bob Fernio. This is Whiskey, and he is wearing a genuine McClellan saddle. And it's an antique. And that's what he's going to wear to the reenactment. And Whiskey is a spotted saddle horse.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I'm one of them as well. Yes.
My fellow citizens of Lincoln and Logan County, good afternoon. My name is Samuel Parks. I'm an attorney here in this town, and I'm a good friend of Mr. Abraham Lincoln. I'm deeply honored to introduce Mr. Lincoln. Just about 3 weeks ago, the Honorable Judge David Davis, sitting right behind me, invited our popular Republican candidate for United States Senate, Abraham Lincoln, to speak here. Mr. Lincoln's opponent in this race, Mr. Stephen Douglas, the so-called Little Giant, had already spoken here twice. Yeah, boo.
Oh, come on!
Yes.
Oh, yeah! Yeah!
Judge Davis and I felt that Mr. Lincoln needed to be here to argue his positions to you good folks here, to you good voters, before the November election. Well, yesterday, Mr. Lincoln finished his final debate with Mr. Douglas in Alton. Am I correct, sir? You are, sir. And today we're fortunate, despite his tiring schedule, he's here with us, traveling from Springfield, to tell us why we should elect him to the United States Senate. support Mr. Lincoln for the Senate. I have known Mr. Lincoln for 18 years, I believe it is. He's a man of good character. When I came to Logan County in 1846, I practiced law alongside Mr. Lincoln in all the courthouses in this county, Postville, and then the Mount Pulaski Courthouse before the county seat was moved from Mount Pulaski to this town. But since then, Mr. Lincoln has often visited my office right across the street. He's established himself as a public servant. He served 4 terms in the state legislature, and he most helped write the law which created this county in 1939. Let's hear it for our county and Mr. Lincoln. Well, he served a term in Congress, but then mostly withdrew from politics. Now for a few more recent facts about Mr. Lincoln.
Wait a minute, Mr. Parks. We didn't come here to hear any long-winded introduction.
Well,
some of us here came here to hear Abe Lincoln.
Well, I know you didn't come here to hear me, sir. You came here to hear Mr. Lincoln, but some of the folks here want to hear more about Mr. Lincoln before he speaks. So if you would permit me just one more comment. Well, just 5 years ago in this site, Lincoln christened this city in 1853. Then a year later in 1854, Senator Douglas and the Democratic Party pushed through the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which reopened slavery to be extended to the new territories. Most citizens thought slavery would be contained and would die out. Mr. Lincoln was, I hear, astounded and shocked at the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Mr. Lincoln knew he had to get back into politics to fight the spread of slavery. That's why he's been debating the little giant, and that's why he's here today. He has to stop the slaveocracy of Stephen Douglas and of President James Buchanan and the entire Democratic Party. I see some of you in this audience who are from the Democratic Party.
Now that's enough, Park. That's enough.
Well, all right.
We came here to hear Abe speak, not you. We don't want to have a long speech from Abe either.
Well, that's right. I understand that, but you're going to get a long speech from Abe.
Hey.
You old line wigs, townsfolk, farmers, men, women, children, to throw your support behind Abraham Lincoln. So I have the distinct honor to give you the namesake of our city and the next United States Senator from Illinois, Mr. Abraham Lincoln.
My good friend, Mr. Parks. Thanks to the rest of the greeting committee for your hospitality. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, and younger citizens of the great state of Illinois, you are kind together today to hear my remarks. I've had many pleasant dealings in this town, and in other towns here in Logan County. When Mr. Latham and his partners asked me if they could name this town after me, I warned them that nothing named Lincoln ever amounted to anything. But I told them that I had no objection if they were determined to do so. Now, every time I visit, I'm pleased to see more and more new people and new businesses. I'm happy to see this town is growing. Let me give you an example of new business. Last March, I came into possession of a lot just over on the south side of the square. I acquired this lot as a payment for a loan debt owed to me. When I came into possession of this property, I noticed a shed on my lot that I had not seen there before. The shed had some horses in it, so I guess I was in a business I didn't even know about. Now, when I went to the courthouse to pay taxes on this lot, I met Deputy Sheriff Louis Rosenthal, who is also the county tax collector. That's right. And I asked him whose shed and horses were on my lot. Mr. Rosenthal said a man here in town who was a good friend of mine. This is embarrassing. He was getting into the horse trading business, and he needed a temporary place to stable some extra horses. I said, well, I reckon that friend is getting all the benefit from the lot, and I'm getting none, so that friend can pay the taxes. I asked Mr. Rosenthal who that friend was, and he confessed that he was the one.
Rascal!
I smiled and said, oh, all right. I guess I'll be an equally good friend to you and pay the taxes after all. The other new businesses I see here prove that this town is amounting to something. I am now in a political competition with Judge Douglas that I hope will prove that I, too, will amount to something. Just yesterday, Judge Douglas and I finished our joint discussions in our debates in Alton. We also had debates in 6 other towns throughout the state. And each of us have spoken individually in dozens of other Illinois towns. Now you will remember that a little more than a month ago, Judge Douglas had his own rally in this town. He took advantage of a circus being here to attract a crowd. Now I sat in the audience, but I did not speak because it was his special day. Now my friends and I have our own special day in this town, but there is no circus here to give me artificial audience or inflated numbers. So again, I thank you for coming to hear me. Now, a day or two after Douglas spoke under the circus tent here, the Chicago Press and Tribune, they published a humorous account of it. That account suggested that when Douglas was here, he was a part of the circus. But the newspaper was not sure what kind of circus performer he was. Let me read to you a brief quotation from that article. Where Judge Douglas is classed, we are not informed whether he is among the riders, acrobats, gymnasts, or one of the clowns. The circus bill leaves us in blissful ignorance. Well, my friends, do you think that Judge Douglas could be any one of these kinds of circus performers?
Yes. When Douglas spoke here, some of us Republicans went to see him. He used his whole body for theatrical effects. He waved his arms in the air. He strutted and paced back and forth.
Yeah.
He shook his head so his hair flew all around. He contorted and twisted his face. In all of these things, I say Douglas acted just like a clown.
Well, my friends, perhaps you've been amused, but now we must be serious. Many of you have read reports in the newspapers of the debates that Judge Douglas completed, so you know that the main subject has been the slavery issue. Today I will tell you how Judge Douglas and I disagree on the question of slavery. I will start with the judge's doctrine of popular sovereignty, because he keeps saying that it is the one and only solution to the slavery problem. He has more than once said his idea of popular sovereignty means that people who settle in the new territories must decide whether it become a free state or a slave state. He brags that he invented this doctrine and that it is right because it is self-government. I say the judge did not invent self-government. The American people at the founding of this country practiced it. And popular sovereignty in the territories where slaves would be taken is not self-government at all. Let me quote briefly from a speech I made in Peoria just 4 years ago. See if I can find it here. All right. The doctrine of self-government is right, absolutely and eternally right, but it has no just application as here attempted in Kansas. If the Negro is a man, it is not to the extent a total destruction of self-government to say that he too shall not govern himself. When the white man governs himself and also governs another man, that is more than self-government. That is despotism. It is tyranny. If the Negro is a man, why then my ancient faith teaches me that all men are created equal, and that there can be no moral right in connection with one man's making a slave of another. I say so much for the judge's great principle of popular sovereignty.
This is starting to sound like a lecture, Lincoln. When you had the debates with the little giant, you told funny stories and jokes. Come on now. Don't you have a funny story and a joke? Yeah!
Please, you are interrupting the points I want to make. These debates were generally serious because slavery is the most important subject to our nation's future. And so during the debates, I did not tell as many stories or jokes as I sometimes do. The question of slavery is of great importance, as I have stated in my House Divided speech last June. What happens with the slavery question will determine whether this nation becomes all free or all slave. So let me continue. I reckon many are in this audience to get more information to help them decide whether to vote for the judge or for me.
That's right, Abe. I've always been a Whig. But now that Andy Jackson's gone, our party's fading out. So just what is the difference between you Republicans and the Democrats anyway?
Well, that's a good question. You are correct to ask that. Because I was asked the same question just a month ago when I spoke in Edwardsville. I basically gave the following reply. The difference between the Republican and the Democratic parties on the leading issue of this contest, as I understand it, is that we Republicans consider slavery a moral, social, and political wrong. Judge Douglas more than once has said he does not care whether slavery is voted down or up. Every measure of the Democratic Party of late years, bearing directly or indirectly on the leading issue of this contest, has corresponded with the notion of utter indifference on whether slavery or freedom shall outrun in the race of empire across to the Pacific. Every measure leading up to the Dred Scott decision, where the idea is boldly suggested that slavery is better than freedom. Now, I must say, regarding the Republicans and their party, we hold slavery, and we hold that this government was instituted to secure the blessings of freedom, and that slavery is an unqualified evil to the Negro, to the white man, to the soil, and to the state. Regarding slavery as an evil, the Republicans, however, will not molest it in the states where it exists, but they will use every constitutional method to prevent this evil from becoming larger. They place slavery on a course of ultimate peaceable extinction in God's own good time.
Yes, that's right. That's the true doctrine, yes.
Let me emphasize that I believe in the gradual ultimate extinction of slavery. It may take 100 years. So Judge Douglas is completely wrong when he accuses me of being an abolitionist. I have never been an abolitionist. He also falsely accuses me of trying to get rid of slavery by starting a civil war. I do not want to call him a liar, but when I come square to the truth, I do not know what else it is. He also accuses me of being in favor of total equality between whites and blacks. I've repeatedly said that just because I do not want a Negro as a slave does not mean I want one as a wife. And just 3 days ago in Quincy, I explained that there is no reason in the world why the Negro should not be given all his natural rights enumerated in the Declaration of Independence. The right to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He is just as entitled to these rights as the white man. And because he has the right to eat the bread he earns with his own hands, he is my equal, and the equal to Judge Douglas, the equal to every living man.
Mr. Lincoln, you keep on lecturing us. Please tell me you are not going on for 2 hours like I know you can do. You're boring me. Mr. Lincoln, please. Don't you have some amusing stories or some jokes you can entertain us with?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Well, today I am somewhat tired after finishing our debates yesterday. So I might not speak as long as I normally do.
Thank you.
I do not think I said much that was funny during the debates. One amusing thing, however, that does come to mind was as soon as the first debate in Alton started, the judge tried to tell a joke about me. He was reviewing his early careers and mine. He mentioned that he had been a school teacher, and he claimed that I had been a saloon keeper in New Salem. And he got a few laughs when he said that. When it came my turn to speak, I too got a few laughs when I corrected him. I pointed out that the judge was woefully at fault about me being a saloon keeper. Not that it would be a great sin had I been a saloon keeper, but the judge was mistaken. This Lincoln never did own a saloon in New Salem, but it is true that I did work the latter part of one winter up at a little still house, up at the head of a little valley. Now, I have heard another version of this story from my friends, which has no basis in fact, but I will tell it to you anyway for your consideration. In the new version, the judge supposedly said that I had been a very good bartender. And I had supposedly replied that while I had once stood on one side of the bar selling whiskey to Mr. Douglas, I had since then left my side of the bar. But Mr. Douglas still sticks to his side as much as ever. Now, my friends, I must return to my main message for just a short time. And that means that we must consider the Dred Scott decision. You will remember that in this decision, the Supreme Court ruled that Dred Scott, as a Negro, was neither a free man nor a citizen, even though he lived in the free states of Illinois and Wisconsin. Unfortunately, this meant that his owners could claim him as property and take him into the new territories. Thus, I asked Judge Douglas if this did not cancel his great principle of popular sovereignty. He said it did not. He said the people of a new territories can still reject slavery. They can reject it by refusing to enact the local laws necessary to enforce and sustain slavery. This theory of the judges on how slavery can be prevented by local unfriendly legislation has caused him problems with Southerners and even his own party, because he did not support the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution in the new territory of Kansas. The judge thought that this Constitution was not a true and accurate majority of Kansas voters. And as a result, with his problems with his own party, some Republicans have begun to think that the judge should join our Republican Party. But Douglas is not one of us. He does not care whether slavery is voted down or up. He does not think slavery is a moral wrong. But all true Republicans do condemn slavery as a great evil.
That's right.
Now wait a minute, Dave. Wait a minute, Dave. Sounds like you don't like the Little Giant at all. In fact, I heard a story that you and the judge were going to settle your differences with a fist fight. Now, is that true?
No fist fight. The judge and I are strong competitors, but I deny that we would ever want to settle our differences with a fist fight. However, I think I can explain the basis for the fight rumor. Last August at Havana, just a few miles west of here, the judge spoke on one day and I followed him on the next. Now just before I spoke, a friend of mine told me that the judge had become a little excited and he said something about fighting as though referring to a pugilistic encounter between myself and him. Now, I was informed further that somebody in his audience took off his coat and was a little more excited or nervous than him and offered to take the job off of Judge Douglas's hands and fight me himself. Now, certainly I did not want to fight Judge Douglas or a second. In the first place, a fight would prove nothing, which is an issue in this political contest. It might establish that Judge Douglas is a more muscular man than myself. Or it might demonstrate that I am a more muscular man than Judge Douglas. But this question is not referred to by the Democratic or Republican platforms in the Senate race. Now, I'm not going to detain you much further. We have in our nation this element of domestic slavery. It is the opinion of all the great men who have expressed opinions upon it that it is a dangerous element. The Missouri Compromise has set forth limits of its future spreading. But Mr. Douglas's Kansas-Nebraska bill and the Dred Scott decision have removed those limits. And so now we are faced with even more national agitation. Why keep up a controversy in regard to it? If we do not put limits on slavery, we will not see its ultimate extinction. We will see it spreading. We can expect the next Dred Scott decision will declare that just as slavery cannot be kept out of the new territories, it cannot be kept out of the states that are not free. As I have said in my House Divided speech last June in Springfield, and this is a crucial point, we shall lie down pleasantly, dreaming that the people of Missouri are on the verge of making their state free. And we shall awake to the reality instead that the Supreme Court has made Illinois a slave state. Is that what you people of Central Illinois want? I cannot but hate slavery because of its monstrous injustice. I hate it because it deprives the Negro of all his natural rights given to him by the Declaration of Independence.
That's right.
That's right.
I hate slavery because it deprives this nation of its just influence in our world, enables the enemies of free institutions to ridicule us as hypocrites, causes the real friends of freedom to doubt our sincerity. And especially because it forces so many good men into an open war with the very fundamental principles of civil liberty, criticizing the Declaration of Independence and insisting that it is not right principle, but self-interest. My fellow citizens, let me emphasize that we must take action to restore slavery to its original status as established by our founding fathers. Your votes for the Republicans running for the state legislature will be votes that will put me in the Senate. There I will work to reform the Missouri Compromise and to urge the Supreme Court to overturn its Dred Scott decision so that we can put slavery on a course of ultimate extinction as our founding fathers intended.
Yes, sir.
Now, I will close with one simple question. Will you help me in this necessary and noble cause?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, good people of Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Lincoln. Thank you.
For Abraham Lincoln.
We have a campaign song to sing. It's in your program today. Take it and sing it with us. You know the song. It's the tune of Nellie Bly, but we're going to sing words for Abraham Lincoln. Uncle Abe, here we are again. We've got a platform now we think that will not bend or strain. Beat the drum for the flag, freedom is for all. And so we fling it to the breeze, as in the ranks we fall. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. Sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe, we have tried to know that he is honest in the work he has to do. Uncle Abe has his faults and still have other men. But his purpose for the Union will not find us like a man. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe is the man who worked in hand. He knows the ropes about the ship upon whose deck we stand. Waves may die before, but he'll guide us on. Till slavery's storm is over and the port of peace is won. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe, here we are again. Got a platform now we think that will not bend or stray. Beat the drum until the flag, freedom is for all. So we bring it to the breeze, as in the ranks we go. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe, we have tried, and we got to do. We know that he is on the word that he has to do. Uncle Abe has his faults, so have other men. But from the for the Union will not find his life again. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe is the man for the working man. He knows the ropes about the ship upon whose deck we stand. Waves may dash and winds may roar, he'll guide us on. Till slavery's storm is over and the port of peace is on. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Uncle Abe, here we are again. Got a platform now we think that we'll begin to stray. Beat the drum and throw the flag, freedom is for all. So we bring it to the breeze, yeah, yeah. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty. Oh, Uncle Abe, listen, Uncle Abe, and see. We sing for you, work for you, all for liberty.
Good voters of Logan County, good Republicans all, I call upon you at this time to voice your true opinion of the candidates in this race.
Speak loudly so they can hear you in Springfield and Chicago and all the way to Washington, D.C. Do we want to send the slavocrat Stephen A. Douglas back to Washington?
Yeah!
Do we want more slavery in Nebraska and Colorado and New Mexico? Do we want 6 more years of our house divided against itself? Do we want 6 more years of Hoss Stephen A. Douglas? Logan County, good Republicans all, do we want to send an honest man to Washington for us? An honest man!
Yeah!
For freedom and for liberty for all! We want to vote for a man who knows Logan County! Soil man to protect our rights. Do we want old Abe for us? Good voters of Logan County, thank you for your support of Logan County's choice for the United States Senate. The only man who can solve the problems before us now, the only man with the solution to the slave issue, the only man honest enough to do the job that needs to be done. Voters of Logan County, I call upon you to vote for your choice for the U.S. Senate, to vote in November for the next senator from the great state of Illinois, for the honorable and honest Abraham Lincoln. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well done. Good job. I'll play. Oh, no, I try hard. It's lonely. Yes, sir. Off the cold.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know you were behind me. I would have handed that mic. I didn't know you were there in the guitar. To me, but I think you can do that. You've been speaking without a mic. They'll remember this the rest of their life. You may be at once. Huh? There's a guy in a whole
Great job. It was just great. A lot of work and a great turnout. Ken Johnson. Yeah, been a while, hasn't it?
I told him, if I'm going to go to all this trouble, I better get scared again. I should say.
Yeah, remember that. Looks like it was great. That was.
Maybe you weren't to the inaugural. Lincoln's inaugural. I shook his hand.
I'm glad I finally got to meet you face to face.
Yes. Nice to see you. Pat Freeze. Oh, nice to meet you.
Hey, well, thank you very much, and you would know Mr. Guy Franklin's a great attorney.